Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So 41-year-old Colorado resident Klete Keller is a former Olympic swimmer, and he was pretty hard to miss on January 6. He stands 6 feet 6 inches tall. He was also wearing his Olympic jacket with the patch on it, USA patch and Olympic patch. So Keller was seen on surveillance video illegally entering the Capitol. He remained inside for almost an hour, and he followed the rest of the mob through the building, and he was among a very large group that was outside of the Senate chamber. They were chanting, "You serve us." And then some people in the front of the mob started pushing against officers, and they were using each other as leverage. Well, that's when Keller led a chant of, quote, "fuck Nancy Pelosi," and also "fuck Chuck Schumer." And the prosecutors say that right after he started chanting, everyone else started chanting various phrases, and they were yelling "push" and "get in there," and the mob became visibly more physical. One person used a stolen riot shield against the police, and eventually the police had to deploy chemicals to control the crowd. So that's when Keller and a bunch of other people retreated. They went back into the rotunda, and a while later, a bunch of officers moved into the rotunda. They were trying to push the mob out of the building, but Keller and the others were resisting. And Keller moved to the center of the room, and he started leaning backward into the line of police officers. So it took several officers to physically move him toward an exit. And even then, he slipped away from them, and then he started recording, and he was singing the national anthem. Well, when they attempted to push him out again, Keller was seen on video. He ripped his arm away. He yelled at the police to, quote, "take it easy" and, quote, "settle down." And then he questioned, quote, "why do we have to leave?" So finally, after numerous aggressive interactions with the police and additional officers arriving as backup, Keller and the others exited the building. Keller left the Capitol grounds at that point, and he immediately threw his U.S. Olympic jacket in the trash can. And the prosecutor said that although Keller was seen recording and photographing everything on January 6th, they weren't able to obtain those videos and photos because Keller destroyed his phone with a hammer. So that was shortly after January 6th. And officers have since testified at trials and in impact statements, written statements, that the collective weight of the mob in that hallway outside the chamber was so heavy and strong that they were left with bruises and bloodied. And some of them were actually lifted off the ground. Some said, "I couldn't breathe." Other officers described that there was lasting psychological trauma. They had a lot of fear. One said, quote, "at this point, my daughter was maybe 10 months, and I had never been a part of anything like this in my life. So it kind of took me a moment to realize, like, you may not make it out of here today." They also feared being dragged into the mob. A bunch of them expressed concern that Trump's terrorists had weapons. So this was very damaging. Even though he, physically didn't hurt anyone, he added to it a great deal, especially because of his size. So Keller's arrest warrant was made public the day after the Capitol attack. He ended up turning himself in on January 14th of 2021. Keller was charged with civil disorder, obstructing an official proceeding, entering a restricted building or grounds, 2 counts of disorderly conduct, impeding passage at a Capitol, and parading in a Capitol. In September of 2021, Keller pleaded guilty to the obstruction charge, and he faced up to 20 years in prison, 3 years of probation, and $250,000 in fines. The prosecutor, though, requested only 10 months in prison, 3 years of probation, and $2,000 in restitution. And they asked for this much lower sentence because of Keller's extensive cooperation. And they said he also was almost immediately contrite. According to the government sentencing memo, Keller was one of the first January 6 defendants to plead guilty to that obstruction charge. He was also one of the first to publicly accept a cooperation deal. And they said he has repeatedly met with investigators. He's provided all kinds of information about everything and everyone he could remember. He also offered prosecutors, quote, substantial assistance. In a letter to the court, Keller wrote that he's sorry about the harm and damage, pointless violence, blah, blah, blah. He said to anyone he disappointed when he broke the law, he apologized. And, quote, I broke important laws that protect the public servants who work at the Capitol. I hope my case serves as a warning to anyone who rationalizes illegal conduct, especially in a moment of political fervor. Keller also said that he deeply regrets his actions, and U.S. District Judge Richard Leon presided over Keller's case. He said, quote, if there was one case that screamed out for probation, this is it. With that, Keller was sentenced to 3 years of probation, which includes 6 months of home detention and $2,000 in restitution. So I'm conflicted about this one. I mean, yes, he aided the prosecutor, he took responsibility, but he also destroyed evidence and he helped the mob. So again, my rule of thumb is nonviolent, which he, kind of was. I mean, he was leaning into police, didn't physically harm them, right? He didn't hit them or kick them or taser them as other people did, but it was still physical. And, even what I always say is the non-physical January 6th defendants, the ones who are nonviolent, they should get a minimum of 2 to 3 months. So I don't know if this was justified, this leniency. Anyway, I'll let you know if I hear any more. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please like this video, share it, become a subscriber or a donor or both if possible. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.